Time now to look at the front pages of some select national dailies to catch up with the stories making the headlines. And we always like to start with the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper for today. So let's take a look at it. Daily Trust for today, Thursday, December 7, 2023. Prisoners from foreign lands working at construction sites in Nigeria, according to a Senate panel. So, I mean, that doesn't seem legal. It doesn't seem legal. But then again, it's not far-fetched, isn't it? That, you know, as long as they're not working in the same country they committed the crime, those countries would find reason to send them elsewhere. But why should we then have to bear the brunt of, you know, their criminal experiences?
Exactly.
Perhaps they're not reformed. Perhaps they feel like this is their second chance to just, you know, do whatever they can in this foreign country because there probably would be no penalty or something of sort.
Why should they be shipped to another country in the first place?
I think this panel report needs to be looked at by the authorities so we can perhaps assess how safe it is for these. You know, we're not talking about ex-convicts. We're talking about criminals who are
serving their terms in prison. Yes.
Prisoners who are serving their time. And maybe this is part of the hard labor. I'm sure it would definitely be flagged as some sort of violation, even against those persons who are being exposed to this practice. PDP, NNPP, 5 others form coalition. Issues in Karo, Plateau, pointer to a one-party state, according to the story on page 6. Are we going to have another APC in the making? Well, time shall tell. This coalition. What's the difference between coalition and a merger? I think coalition is a step, but a merger is much bigger, I think.
Much bigger,
so,
yes.
Yeah, I don't know how coalitions work, but anyway, interesting times indeed. Gaza war may aggravate threats to international peace, according to UN Secretary General, who is warning. And I think we have already seen enough to suggest that that's where it is heading. Zero allocation for Mambilla power project in the 2024 budget. Imagine that. Ministry gets 400 million naira, but it's for conferences. Senators vow to query minister. Northern Elders Forum say it's a plot to emasculate our region. Not to sound as a counter, but also the past 8 years we've had a president from the north, not a northern president, but the things that happened with the Mambilla power project, you don't want to know.
No.
Because it's inexcusable, and you know, I just don't think this regional sentiment applies here, because we've had people from Taraba become minister of that particular industry.
Exactly.
And you have every motivation and incentive to see it, you know, happen. But it didn't even happen.
I trust if you had a documentary to that effect.
Exactly.
Yes.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
Says federal government not ready to address energy crisis, and you see some of the protesting youths yesterday in Kaduna who were protesting the bombardment of Tudumbiri in Kaduna by the Nigerian Army. NJC recommends appointments of 11 Supreme Court justices, 32 others. Border closure, we're losing 13 billion naira weekly, according to freight forwarders. Finally, government attack Kogi Election Tribunal scribe, card away documents.
Wow.
That's it on the front page of the Daily Trust.
And now let's look at the Vanguard newspaper, and as bombing error won't deter fight against terrorism. That's the lead story there, and that's coming from the defense minister. UN deploys incident. That's one writer attached to the story. Death toll rises to 127. Victims recount ordeal. Some injured are moved to Army 44 Reference Hospital, and PDP demands probe compensation for victims. CSO seeks overhaul of security architecture, page 5, and the Vanguard newspaper has details of that story. Let's take a look at above the lead story. More suffering for retirees as federal government cuts pension spending by 21%. NJC okays 11 new justices for Supreme Court, and with a kicker that says demolition. Court freezes Kano government account over 30 billion naira compensation. Page 13 of the Vanguard newspaper has details of that. Let's take a look at the pictorial where we have the Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, Atiku Bagudu and the President's Patrice Talon of Benin Republic, and of course President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. They're shaking hands. You might just want to know what's going on there. But plot to subvert people will pretend danger. That's coming from coalition. Then Pastor Chris Oyakilome sharing God's love through ministry. All right, you might just want to get more details of that. Stop tax waivers. Concession already granted to corporate entities, Senate tells federal government. And just at the bottom strip, we have government should discourage pegging naira to a currency. That's coming from experts. And in sports, we have Eagles must win the African Cup of Nations. The Minister of Sport tells NFF and Pizarro. Okay, I don't know why they're still keeping him, but a lot of Nigerians might just want to say something.
Maybe the next lineup, the minister should be in there. The main striker. Perhaps he can give us the goals that Victor Osimhen.
You're not being fair at this point.
I'm just saying, what is a must there? I mean, it's football. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. Let's finally we take a look at Punch newspaper there. Let's take a look at the front page of the Punch newspaper. 346 billion naira voted for presidential jets, refreshments, and others. We're still getting, to the details and bits and pieces. It's not a jaundiced viewpoint when Nigerians are angry. Every time they hear about the allocations, it's always, it angers you in a way. Airlines eye $964 billion. Nigeria African carriers post losses. And federal government loses 16 million, I beg your pardon, $161 million to 9-year conflict with Intels, according to the Nigeria Post Authority. So there's more to that issue there following the normalization of relationships between the federal government and Intels.
Exactly.
Kaduna village bombing, protesters storm National Assembly, AI threatens suit. Deaths reach 127. Is it Amnesty International? Yeah, okay, Amnesty International, because AI actually means a lot more than Amnesty International.
Exactly,
right
it could be artificial intelligence.
Yeah, exactly. I was perplexed for a moment. Protesters condemn killings. United Nations urges military to protect civilians. PDP asks Tinubu to declare national mourning. Victims may demand 29 billion now. And of course, you can see the faces of the 11 Supreme Court justices, or rather recommended justices, the Supreme Court bench by the NJC. And it says that 11 justices scale NJC hurdles await Tinubu's nod, and it will happen in no distant time. All right, let's get the conversation on the way to unpack this particular interesting day with all the headlines. Mara Nasser Lowen is here with us, as always, on a beautiful Thursday morning to help us, talk about all of these interesting stories. Mara Nasser, good morning. Thank you very much for coming on.
Good morning, and thank you for coming.
Let's start with the bombshell on the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper. Zero allocation for the Mambilla power project in next year's budget. Your thoughts?
Well, I don't think it's unexpected.
Wow.
Because if you look at the fact that this thing started in 1972, that's the Mambilla power project, and administration after administration, they will all play their role and then somehow fail to deliver on the project. I remember even the immediate past administration of Muhammadu Buhari. They made that one of their signature projects, but somehow, due to some of the litigations and some of the power play, actually, they couldn't deliver on the project also. Some are blaming the Attorney General, during the Buhari administration. Some are blaming the former power minister who came from Taraba State. All of them couldn't deliver on the project. So I am not surprised that there is zero allocation for the Mambilla project in 2024.
What do you think this means for the power sector in Nigeria?
Well, we keep talking about, the need to improve on our power that's production and then even transmission. But sometimes they will tell you even the little that we're able to transmit, all the distribution companies, very few of them can actually get to use all of that. So maybe, but I don't remember President Tinubu making the Mambilla project, you know, like his priority during the campaign promises. But, you know, probably this story is trying to tell us that year in, year out, you know, we have been budgeting for the Mambilla project, even though there is nothing to show for it on the ground. I remember Daily Trust did a number of stories, you know, even in 2007 when the project was awarded to one Chinese company. I can't remember the name now. I think Daily Trust sponsored a reporter to Mambilla Plateau. And when he went there, you know, there was nothing to show that a project of that magnitude is actually in the offing. And even as recent as, you know, 2022 or so. 21. Yeah, and 21, you know, we are still talking about compensation. We are still talking about, you know, feasibility studies. So where are all the monies, you know, that we have been budgeting for?
Probably. Is it safe to say, Mara Nasser, for Nigerians looking at this, to say that we're not serious about this project? Because it's been over 4 decades now. And we're still nowhere close to something that would represent progress.
Honestly, that's the idea that, you know, so many Nigerians will get away with, because I don't think spending that amount of money, even though we are banking on the Chinese Exim Bank, you know, to give us like 85% of the funding, but, you know, so far we have been giving all the consultants all the money to enjoy. And I don't like the fact that even former President Olusegun Obasanjo, just recently, I think in September or so, he was engaged in, you know, like a tit for tat with one of his ministers. He said he didn't know how the minister gave the approval for the Mambilla project to be executed by is it Sun Power? One of the companies that is Sunrise, I think, that is in court with the federal government. So if you can see the fact that even former President Obasanjo, you know, the president, and then accusing his own minister of, you know, like circumventing the process and granting approval to this company, which is partly responsible for what happened with the project. Because even though some will say the Buhari administration made some efforts, sadly, we reward results, not efforts, and not the efforts. Even if they made all the efforts, the fact that they couldn't deliver on the project, that's what
Let's
Nigerians
get your
will remember.
thought on the Northern Elders saying that it is a plot to emasculate their region.
No, I think that's not a very good thing to do, because you are talking about probably because we now have a president that is from another region, but we had Buhari for 8 years. So even if you are to blame anybody for not delivering on the project, probably you should go back to when you used to have somebody from your own area and still couldn't deliver on the project. If you look at the finances of Nigeria at the moment, you know, you need trillions of naira to be able to execute this project. And right now, we are all over the place borrowing. And this is a project that even former Minister of Power, Babatunde Fashola, said that it will take like 72 months to complete. So I don't think the government will want to embark on a project that
it's not a low-hanging fruit for them.
So that's a very big problem.
Besides, power generation is not necessarily at the heart of the problem, because the infrastructure to evacuate the power is still the challenge, apparently, from what we have right now. Let's talk about this story that may perhaps make the APC feel a little bit uncomfortable. It is reported that PDP, NNPP, 5 other political parties are forming a coalition. And it's safe to say that the Labour Party is not necessarily one of them, because if it was, it would also be in the headline. But I think it's safe to say that it started with a call by the presidential candidate of the PDP in the 2023 presidential election, Atiku Abubakar, who called for a coalition to fight what he termed is likely going to be a one-party system. Your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I think it's very good. It's a very good development. The fact that our political parties, even though not all of them, that's the ones in the opposition, trying to come together to face the ruling APC. Because honestly, if we end up with a one-party system, then the nation will be the one to suffer for it. But like you also observed, the Labour Party is actually not part of this arrangement. And I also read it somewhere, you know, that's the Labour Party saying that even though it's good, but they have not been contacted, and that is a coalition of like minds, you know, just trying to like distance themselves from the arrangement. And the problem is, if they don't come together to face the ruling APC, honestly, they will continue trying to form coalition today.
Is it not too early for this coalition?
No, if they want to actually face the APC, I think this is the right time for them to start. Right. Some may even say they are already late, because if you look at what happened in 2013, by 2013 the APC was already, you know, like they've done the merger, formed everything, and 2 years after they were able to confront the then ruling party, and now they're in government. So if you are also looking for a coalition or a merger, you know, that can send the APC packing, honestly, this is the time for you to start.
It's always best to strike when the rod is still hot. So I guess the anger, the emotion from the loss is still fresh, especially as some of them keep losing their seats because of the
we
tribunals
still have some
and
of the
appeals.
cases, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
None has clearly been taken out yet. We still have
the
Supreme
National
Court.
Assembly, they have lost significantly.
Yes, they have, but you know, all eyes on the Supreme Court right now, as we still have some of these cases coming up shortly.
Okay. The story around the recommendation of the 11 Supreme Court justices. There are 32 others that have also been appointed to the appeal courts and so on and so forth. But now it looks like we're set to replenish the ranks of the Supreme Court. And some of the names there are quite notable. The likes of Justice Haruna Samani, for instance, who sat on the Presidential Election Petitions Court. Your take on this one? The NJC has done its due diligence. They've been cleared. Apparently, we're waiting for the formalities of the appointments and the confirmation from the Senate. Yeah, well, I don't like the fact that some are trying to read meanings into the some of the nominations, like what you just mentioned. Some people saying that this is like a reward for and somebody that has been in the judiciary for this long, you expect him to have, you know, played so many roles in so many things significantly. So if you are like trying to go back to his past to uncover things like this, honestly, I don't think it's good, because only recently we were all over the place complaining that we had only 10 justices in the Supreme Court, while when we need to have 21. And now that we are trying to like balance the equation, people are also trying to read meanings into it. I don't think this is very helpful for the system. And we apparently have prisoners, from foreign lands working at construction sites in the country, according to a Senate panel. Well, I don't think this is new. Nigerians have been saying this, you know, that some of the, well, let me even go as far as mentioning the names, that some of these Chinese people that you see working on construction sites, they're actually, you know, serving their jail term, but probably they are maybe on parole, you know, trying to see maybe they have been reformed or something like that. And sadly, they have not told us exactly what, you know, what they are serving, whether it's for crime, whether it's for civil offenses.
Well, it might make you wonder, though, do we have agreements with some of these countries that some prisoners will be on parole in Nigeria?
Well, I don't think the Chinese government, you know, will be open, if that is the case, to tell Nigerians that these people are actually prisoners, because, of course, you expect Nigeria to protest if you are bringing in people that you have convicted for wrongdoing, you know, to come to Nigeria. Even if they are not going to do anything, probably they may end up teaching, you know, some of our own people.
And over the years, we've had problems with Chinese and Nigerians, you know, hard labor, you know, some sort of, you know, conditions, Nigerians living in very, very severe conditions under this Chinese. Could it be some, it got me thinking about a lot of things. Maybe they're breaching some kind of
we right now in Kano, one Chinese national is standing trial for the murder of his girlfriend.
Yes, Umi.
And then he raises the question, I mean, what do we know about some of these international expatriates? I was like to see them,
businesses
about their track record from their own home country, for instance.
Well, even the Nigerian that was recently killed in a foreign land, I think they are blaming a Chinese, owner for that. Maybe because we are getting their money, Nigeria has not been able to engage them the way it is supposed to. But honestly, we should value, the rights of our own people.
Right.
If they are like maltreated, we should be able to stand for them. Nothing says because we are sourcing for loans and what have you from the Chinese, then we shouldn't also play our own role in defending our people.
I suppose we need to see this matter escalated beyond just a panel report from the Nigerian Senate to the authorities doing the needful to really ascertain the criminal records of some of these people who are working here in the country. We're going to have to leave it here for now. Mara Nasser, as always, thank you very much for your analysis of the news this morning. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.